Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. I never thought a quiet night on the couch, scrolling through Netflix, would uncover the truth that shattered my marriage. It started like any other evening, a calm Friday after a long week at work. I had ordered takeout, changed into comfortable clothes, and was ready to binge watch something light to take my mind off everything that had been feeling off between my wife and me. Her name was Rachel, and for months, I had felt the distance growing between us like an invisible wall. We used to spend nights like this together, sharing snacks, laughing at movies, and arguing playfully over what to watch next. But recently, she'd always had an excuse. "I'm tired," she'd say, or "I have a lot of work to catch up on." Sometimes, she'd just go upstairs with her phone glued to her hand, smiling faintly at messages she never explained. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband who accuses his wife of things without proof, so I kept quiet. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. That night, after finishing my dinner alone, I logged into Netflix and noticed something strange. There were shows on the continue watching list that I didn't recognize, romantic series I'd never seen before. I clicked on one out of curiosity, thinking maybe Rachel had started something new, but when the first episode played, I realized the account name was Guess. I'd never made a guest profile. That got my attention. I paused the show and scrolled through the viewing history. There were several titles I knew Rachel had mentioned before. One she said she hadn't had time to watch. Yet, they were half-watched, with timestamps that matched the nights she told me she was working late. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. It wasn't definitive proof of anything, but it planted a seed of suspicion I couldn't shake off. Still, I told myself maybe she'd been watching on her breaks, or maybe her friends had used our account. I wanted to believe that. A few days later, while she was out meeting clients, I noticed the TV was still logged into her account. Curiosity got the best of me. I went into Netflix again and checked the Continue Watching section. A new movie had been added, a romantic drama about secret affairs. My stomach turned when I saw the viewing time, exactly 7:45 p.m. the night before. At that time, she had told me she was in bed early, exhausted. Something wasn't adding up. That's when I remembered Netflix keeps a detailed history of what's watched, including device names. I opened the settings and saw multiple devices connected. Our living room TV, my phone, her phone, and one more labeled Samsung S22. Neither of us had that model. My heart sank. I clicked on recent activity. And sure enough, the S22 device had been streaming movies at times when Rachel claimed she was at work or asleep. That night, I couldn't rest. I kept staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every little lie I had ignored. The sudden increase in her late nights, the new perfume she never wore before, the way she started guarding her phone like it was a national secret. All those things I had brushed off as paranoia now felt like clues I had missed. The next day, I decided to test something. I changed our Netflix password and logged out all devices. When Rachel got home that evening, she was unusually irritable. "Did you change the Netflix password?" she asked, frowning as she tossed her purse on the couch. "Yeah," I said casually. "They said there was suspicious activity, so I reset it." Her face stiffened for just a second, barely noticeable, but I caught it. "Oh," she muttered, looking away. "Makes sense." But here's the thing. She didn't ask for the new password. She didn't even seem interested in getting back in. For someone who used to love watching shows every night, that silence spoke volumes. Later that night, when she went upstairs, I rechecked the account. Within hours of me resetting the password, a new device tried to log in again. The name? Samsung S22. Whoever it was, they wanted access badly. That was the confirmation I needed. But I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I decided to gather more information. I re-enabled the account, changed the password back, and waited. Over the next week, I noticed a pattern. Every time Rachel said she was going to bed early, the Netflix account would show activity from that same unknown device, usually around 10 or 11 p.m. The viewing history was oddly specific. romantic comedies, steamy dramas, and even a few foreign love series she once told me she wasn't interested in. I started noting down dates and times. Then, one Friday night, I saw something that broke me completely. A new movie had been watched titled The Lover's Weekend, and I recognized the thumbnail immediately. It was the exact movie she and I had planned to watch together a month earlier before she canceled on me at the last minute. When I checked the viewing details, I saw that she had watched it 2 nights ago on her business trip. The timestamp matched perfectly with the time she texted me. "Good night. I'm so tired." I sat there, staring at the screen, feeling my stomach twist. That was the moment denial died. Netflix, of all things, had just confirmed my worst fears. But I wasn't going to confront her blindly. I wanted to be sure. So I logged into our Wi-Fi router settings and checked connected devices. The Samsung S22 appeared there too, but with a different location tag than our home, about 15 miles away. I took a screenshot. Then I checked the connection times. They lined up with the Netflix viewing history perfectly. My heart was pounding, my palms sweating. It was becoming painfully clear that Rachel wasn't spending her late nights working. She was spending them with someone else. The next morning, she came downstairs cheerful, humming softly while making coffee. "You're up early," she said, flashing a smile that used to make my day. But now, it only reminded me of her lies. "Yeah," I replied, trying to sound calm. "Couldn't sleep much." She reached over and placed her hand on mine. "You work too hard, babe. Maybe we should take a weekend trip together. Just us." The audacity of it almost made me laugh. I smiled faintly and nodded. "Sure, that sounds nice." Inside, though, I was boiling. I needed to see just how deep this went. So I played along. For the next few days, I acted normal, sweet, attentive, almost oblivious. I made dinner, sent her flowers, even offered to drive her to her supposed client meetings. She refused every time, saying she'd take her own car because she didn't want to inconvenience me. Each refusal was another nail in the coffin of our marriage. I had the digital trail, but I wanted visual proof. So one evening, when she told me she had to meet a client about a project deadline, I checked the Netflix account at the exact time she left. Not even 30 minutes later, the Samsung S22 started streaming again. This time, it wasn't even subtle. The title was Our Secret Affair. I stared at the name and felt my chest tighten. It was almost like she wanted to mock me without even knowing it. I decided to drive out. I had nothing but the address range and the Wi-Fi log, but it was enough to get me close. I parked near a cafe in that area and waited. My hands were shaking the whole time, but I told myself I needed closure. After about an hour, I saw her car. She pulled up outside an apartment complex and didn't get out right away. Instead, a man approached her car, leaned into the driver's window, and kissed her. That moment burned into my memory. My throat felt dry, my body cold, my vision blurry from disbelief. She wasn't even trying to hide it. I didn't rush out. I didn't scream. I just sat there, gripping the steering wheel as my heart shattered silently. When I drove home, I knew what I had to do. I had enough evidence, the Netflix logs, the device connections, the router records, and now, what I had just witnessed with my own eyes. I spent that night sitting in the dark, replaying everything in my head. The night she said she was working, the time she ignored me for her phone, the sudden coldness in her touch. It all made sense now. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was deliberate, constant, and hidden behind a streaming service we once shared our happiest moments on. The same Netflix account where we laughed together had now become the mirror reflecting the truth of her double life. I waited until the next morning to act. She came downstairs, dressed for another meeting. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "Don't wait up. It might be a late one." This time I smiled. "That's fine," I said softly. "But before you go, maybe check Netflix. I think you'll find something interesting there." She gave me a puzzled look, but walked toward the TV anyway. I had queued up the movie The Lover's Weekend again and paused it on the screen. When she saw it, her face went pale. She turned to me, her lips trembling slightly. Why? Why are you watching that? I'm not, I replied calmly. But you are. Or maybe you and someone with a Samsung S22 are. Her eyes widened in shock, and for the first time in months, she couldn't find the words to lie. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't yell. I just looked at her and said, Netflix may have helped us find shows we loved, but it also helped me find the truth. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The silence that followed was deafening, an ending written not by anger, but by quiet realization. That was the last night we ever sat in the same room as husband and wife. She stood there frozen, her face pale as if the blood had drained out completely. For a long time, neither of us said anything. The only sound in the room came from the faint hum of the television, where the paused movie screen glowed like a silent witness. Her eyes darted from the screen to me, searching for some sign that maybe she could still talk her way out of this. But I had already made up my mind. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked. I can explain. I laughed softly, not out of amusement, but from the bitter irony of it all. Explain what? That you watched our movie with another man? Or that you used the same Netflix account to do it? Tears filled her eyes, but I couldn't feel sympathy anymore. For months, I had begged her to talk to me, to tell me what was wrong, to let me in. She had chosen silence. And now, when the truth had cornered her, she wanted to talk. I didn't mean for this to happen, she whispered. It started with small things. Conversations, coffee after work. Don't, I interrupted sharply. Don't try to make it sound harmless. You could have stopped it. You didn't. She sat down on the couch, burying her face in her hands. I stood a few feet away, feeling both angry and strangely empty. For years, I had imagined that if she ever betrayed me, I would explode, yell, throw things. But instead, I just felt numb. It was as if the shock had drained me completely. How long? I asked quietly. She hesitated, then said, A few months. I nodded slowly. That's about when you started saying you were too tired for movie nights. When you started working late. When you stopped laughing at my jokes. I guess Netflix knew before I did. Her sobs grew louder, but I didn't move toward her. I couldn't. The distance between us felt like miles. After a few minutes, I walked to the cabinet and pulled out a folder. Inside were printed copies of the Netflix activity logs, screenshots of devices, and photos of her car outside that apartment. I placed them on the coffee table, in front of her. She looked up at them, trembling. You followed me? I nodded. I had to. I needed to be sure. She opened the folder, flipping through the pages with shaking hands. Each piece of paper was another nail in the coffin of our marriage. The timestamps, the Wi-Fi logs, the proof that every business trip was just another lie. Finally, she whispered, His name is Aaron. The sound of that name felt like a punch to the chest. I had suspected there was someone, but hearing it made it painfully real. Is he your co-worker? I asked. Yes, she said softly. It started after we worked late on a project together. I don't know what I was thinking. You were so busy with work, and I felt like we weren't connecting anymore. He made me feel. Don't finish that sentence, I said firmly. Don't try to justify it by saying I was distant. I was working for us, for our future. She nodded through her tears. I know. I made a mistake. Mistake, I repeated quietly. A mistake is forgetting to turn off the lights. Cheating on your husband for months isn't a mistake. It's a choice. The silence after that was heavy, suffocating. I looked at her one last time and realized the woman sitting in front of me wasn't the same one I had married. Somewhere along the line, she had changed, and so had I. I want you to leave, I said finally. Her head jerked up, eyes wide. What? I can't do this anymore. I can't look at you and not see him. I can't lie next to you knowing that when I thought you were asleep, you were somewhere else with him. She started crying harder, her body shaking. Please, don't do this. We can go to counseling. I'll end it with him. It's already over, I said, my voice flat. The moment you brought another man into our marriage, It ended. Netflix just gave me the proof I needed to stop pretending. I turned and walked upstairs, leaving her sobbing on the couch. I packed a small bag, just enough clothes for a few days, and took my car keys. Before walking out the door, I paused and looked back at her one last time. She was still crying, still whispering apologies that I no longer believed in. When I left the house, the cold air hit me like a slap. I drove without a destination, my mind replaying every memory. Our first date, our wedding day, the nights we laughed watching movies together. It all felt tainted now, poisoned by the lies that had crept into our life. I ended up parking by the lake, the same spot where we used to go during our early years of marriage. The reflection of the moon rippled on the water, reminding me of how peaceful life once felt. I sat there for hours, trying to process everything. Over the next few days, I stayed at a hotel. Rachel called dozens of times, sent long messages begging for another chance. I didn't respond. I needed time to think, and I needed to feel the weight of what had happened. Every message she sent sounded like desperation, not love. On the fourth day, I got a text from her that said, "Please come home. We need to talk." Against my better judgment, I went. When I entered the house, it looked the same, yet it felt completely different. She was sitting at the dining table, her eyes red from crying. "I told Aaron it's over," she said quietly. "He's leaving the company." I nodded but didn't sit down. Good for him. But that doesn't change anything. "I'll do anything," she whispered. "I'll delete all my accounts, change my number, go to therapy. Please don't throw this away." "Rachel," I said slowly, "you already threw it away. You just didn't realize it until you got caught." Her shoulders slumped, and for a moment, I saw the weight of her guilt. Maybe she did regret it. Maybe she truly felt sorry. But sorry couldn't erase the betrayal. I stayed calm and told her, "I'm filing for divorce. I've already contacted a lawyer." Her tears returned instantly. "Please don't. We built so much together. We can fix this." I shook my head. "You can't rebuild something that's already burned to ground." She tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. "I loved you more than anything," I said quietly. "But I can't love someone who lies to my face and shares our memories with another man. You broke something that can't be repaired." When I left the house that day, I didn't look back. It was painful, but also freeing. For the first time in months, I didn't have to question where she was or who she was texting. The divorce process was exhausting, dividing assets, signing papers, facing awkward questions from friends and family. But I didn't hide the truth. I simply said, "She cheated, and I found out through Netflix." People were shocked. Some even laughed at the absurdity of it. But for me, it wasn't funny. It was real, painful, and unforgettable. Months passed, and the house that once echoed with laughter felt empty. I moved into a smaller apartment closer to work. It took time to adjust, to make peace with the silence, to cook dinner for one, to watch movies alone again. Ironically, I couldn't bring myself to use Netflix for a long time. Every time I opened the app, I saw ghosts of what we had shared, our old watch list, our favorite shows, the little recommended for us section. It all felt like a reminder of love that died quietly in front of TV screen. One night, after months of avoiding it, I finally sat down and decided to give it another try. I made a new profile titled Simply Me. No shared accounts, no traces of the past. I started watching a movie, something light, something new. Halfway through, I realized I was smiling for the first time in a long while. There was something healing about that moment. The screen that once revealed betrayal was now helping me rediscover peace. With time, I began to rebuild myself. I focused on work, met new people, traveled a bit, and even started seeing someone who reminded me that love doesn't always come wrapped in lies. One evening, as I sat on my couch, I thought about everything that had happened. It still hurt, but not in the same way. It was a dull ache now, a reminder of what I had survived. Netflix had unknowingly played the role of detective in my life, exposing what was hidden behind smiles and excuses. But it also taught me something deeper. No matter how painful the truth is, It's always better than living in a lie. I learned that healing isn't about forgetting. It's about accepting. Accepting that people change, that love can fade, and that sometimes the person you trust most can be the one who breaks you. But it's also about knowing you can rise from it, stronger and wiser. Now, when I turn on Netflix, I no longer think about Rachel or the man she chose. I think about how life, much like a movie, moves on to the next scene. And sometimes you just have to hit play again.